Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, joined by Lars Larson of The Lars Larson Show. Catch him tonight at 6 on KIDO Talk Radio. Lars, good morning.
Treating you.
I'm sorry we missed that. Good morning. How are you, Lars?
Good morning. How's the day treating you so far?
Always good to wake up on the right side. So we've got a lot of issues to yap about. One that you know and have some really good insight is this Mayor Pete Buttigieg. And you'll correct me on my pronunciation of it.
Oh, it's easy, Kevin. It's Buttigieg, and it's the only reason I know that is we interviewed him a couple of years ago, and he's going to make an interesting addition to the Democrat race because he's not stupid, and there are a few stupid ones in there, but he's smart. He's got a military career, and he's proudly served this country in uniform. He has a great education. But he seems to be very far to the left, but he delivers the message in such a way that he's taken a real leap into this. And he only officially announced yesterday afternoon about 2 p.m. in Indiana, and he may just give some of these other folks a run for their money.
Lars, as someone who has practiced talk journalism for years, you've been around the world, you've interviewed President Trump, you've interviewed mayors and councilmen and heads of state. A couple years ago, and again, you were doing great work for your affiliate in Indiana there, you meet this guy, Mayor Pete. Are you surprised that he's made this great leap and he's garnered about $7 million of true believers already, basically on a great personal resume, but a political resume, it's pretty light.
Yeah, it's a very light resume. And in fact, apparently, most of what he's done, I mean, I haven't lived in Indianapolis, but he's apparently done very, very well as far as people's attitudes toward him. But the amount of things he's actually accomplished for his city doesn't sound like much. And the other thing is that when you're running for president, I've always said that the best preparation is to be governor of a state. Why? Because you're the chief executive for a large operation. Even the smallest states have thousands of employees, and you get surprises thrown at you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whereas when you're a member of Congress, you can just show up and pitch your favorite ideas, and if nothing ever happens with them and you never accomplish anything, it's really not a down check. I mean, I don't think much of the job that a lot of members of Congress do because they're not expected necessarily to produce anything. Mayors and governors have to produce. They have to set the conditions to make their states friendly for business, to get the government out of the way so jobs can be created, and they need to respond to emergencies. So being mayor of a middle-sized American city, I don't think it's terrific preparation, but like I said, the guy has a pretty good resume in the military, Rhodes Scholar, commanding officer in the United States military, served in Afghanistan, I believe. I don't know if he went to Iraq, but he was in Afghanistan. And so he has quite a resume. Question is, can he actually go out and run with the big candidates who have already jumped in?
Sure.
And what are the Elizabeth Warrens and the Bernie Sanders of the race going to do with this upstart?
Well, and everybody is great when they have the wind at their back, but I'm sure we'll start to see his record about what he has and hasn't done in South Bend, Indiana. The fact that he ran statewide in 2010 and got destroyed, probably couldn't win in his home state, and is, the old truth in advertising, what's he really done? And we'll see if he can take a punch. Did you personally come away with anything when you spoke with this kid a couple years ago?
And by the way, you're right. It is South Bend rather than Indianapolis. I misspoke. But I really thought that he was a very good interview. But again, he's coming from the left side of the spectrum, and he's going to bring left-wing ideas. And I think America is now seeing what happens when you go from a lefty president, a big government president like Obama, to a capitalist free enterprise president like Donald Trump. The average person does better. There are more jobs. The paychecks are bigger. There's more opportunity. The economy is going along at a better pace. And so trying to sell socialism or communism or bigger government to a bunch of people who've already had 8 years to see what that was like, and now a couple of years to experience what the alternative is like, I think it's going to be a tough sell.
Our great friend Lars Larson joining us this morning. By the way, Lars, we appreciate you joining us every Monday, by the way. I know you're always working, but One more time with Mayor Pete, his attack on Mike Pence. Mayor Pete, openly homosexual. He's married. Brought that up yesterday. Lars, while you were enjoying yourself, I'm sitting there watching the Mayor Pete announcement from Studebaker 84, the old warehouse there. But he's a shrewd guy, the way he brings out, not afraid to take on Pence when it comes to social conservatism, even though he has the opposite view.
Well, except think how dangerous this is. Look, I've got friends who are gay. So what? I don't care what they do in their bedroom. They don't care what I do in my bedroom. But the fact that he launches an attack on a good man, Mike Pence, and what is the attack? He disagrees with Pence's take on faith and on marriage. Well, is that something you want to see people attacked for? To say that, that what is the allegation that Mike Pence is not entitled to his faith? I beg to differ. The Constitution says he is entitled to his faith. Are you entitled to believe differently? Yes. But is that the way to start out to warm up to Americans, some of whom share Mike Pence's view of traditional marriage, and I do, and some of whom view things the way Mayor Pete Buttigieg does? But are you willing to say any other view except Buttigieg's view is corrupt and wrong and is not to be allowed? We're starting to get into the realm of thought police in this country and some of the other countries like ours. I don't know if you caught this, but last week I mentioned that there was a story out of the London Telegraph about a man who's under police investigation. Why? He retweeted a limerick. Now, I kind of like limericks. Some of them are a little bawdy, but this one talked about transsexuals, and it wasn't that highly offensive. It just said, it was a funny limerick. He tweeted it. He is now under investigation by the police. And when the police came to talk to him about this tweet, it wasn't a tweet that threatened anyone. It was just, probably, you might say, rude. I could even quote it on the air. It's clean enough to say it on the radio. The man said, well, what are you investigating me for? He said, and the officer who investigated him or was investigating him was called a community cohesion officer. Now, I don't know everything about what that means in Great Britain, but the whole idea sounds scary to me. Police officers arrest people for committing crimes. You can define what a crime is and what isn't. What is a community cohesion officer? Somebody who comes to find out, are you saying things that your neighbors don't like? Well, in the United States, I can say things that my neighbors don't like all day long as I don't threaten their life or their safety. But in Great Britain, what this officer told him was, he says, we need to check your thinking. Now, Kevin, in a free speech, country like ours, where you're free to gather with people who agree with you and not associate with people if you don't want to associate with them, that freedom of association, to be told your thinking needs to be checked because we can't allow you to be thinking things that aren't politically correct. You want to live in a world like that?
No, and we see that with the Democrats. Lars Larson joining us, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. A couple other quick hits. We still have, last week, Representative Omar says those unacceptable comments. The president responds.
And the president goes after her.
And instead of addressing the comments that were inappropriate, people are going after the president.
Yeah, and Cory Booker, who's running for president from New Jersey, Cory Booker says that it's unacceptable for Donald Trump to put up Ilhan Omar's actual quote, "Some people did something," in referring to the murder of nearly 3,000 Americans by jihadi terrorists. She was speaking before a Muslim group. She herself is Muslim. Apparently, she didn't want to say some Muslim terrorists murdered almost 3,000 Americans. So her phrase was, "Some people did something," and it was in the context of mentioning why CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, had been created. Well, CARE is a front group, a PR front group for terrorist organizations like Hamas. So, her trying to defend it by dumbing down her description of 9/11 from the murder of almost 3,000 people to some people did something. Well, the president juxtaposed that with video of the Twin Towers blowing up and on fire and under attack. And I think the juxtaposition was correct. I think the president was saying, if you've got a member of Congress who tries to dumb down the murder of 3,000 Americans as some people did something, then I think she should be taken to task. And the president has the guts to do it. Previous presidents have not. I think Donald Trump is setting a new standard for American presidents, that presidents will actually say something about outrageous comments. And the fact that folks are defending Ilhan Omar, there's nothing to defend there. You shouldn't be defending a woman who tries to dumb down the biggest terrorist attack on American soil down to just some people did something.
Our great friend Lars Larson joining us here. Kevin Miller in the morning. So the governor of Washington, Governor Inslee, is running for president. Your thoughts?
Jay Inslee is running for president. He is a Democrat. He's a left-winger, and he is pulling about 0 in the national polls. I think there are a couple of states where he actually pulls a 1 or a 1.5 in 1 or 2 states and pulls a 0 for the rest of the country. That's comment number 1. Comment number 2, he's in a field that's now more than a dozen, and he isn't even showing up as a blip on the radar. Number 3, by his own account, he plans to make climate change his major focus of his campaign. Well, climate change was something he couldn't sell to the people of his own state. We had a vote on whether or not to adopt a carbon tax, which is Jay Inslee's big baby. We're going to have this carbon tax, and we're going to jack up the price of gasoline and diesel and natural gas and every other kind of fuel that exists, that powers our economy, that powers our homes, that keeps us warm, that powers our cars. He couldn't sell it to his own state, but now he's going to run, by his account, his entire presidential campaign will focus around climate change. Good luck, Jay.
And finally, Lars Larson joining us, The Lars Larson Show, weeknight 6 to 9 here, KIDO Talk Radio. Lars, what do you make of the president's comments? We've been talking about it all morning long. Ship the illegals, and he goes, yeah, and I call them illegals, to the sanctuary cities.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Let's put it bluntly. Most of these illegals will head to cities, and they will probably avoid the cities that have declared themselves not sanctuaries. And why? Because in a sanctuary city, if an illegal alien is taken into custody or comes into contact with the police, the sanctuary city, by policy, will not notify ICE, even though that criminal could be removed from the community, which would be a good thing for the community, and it would be following the law. But these sanctuary cities have said, we're not willing to let that happen. We will not be part of the solution. So as far as I'm concerned, having the president say, we're going to specifically take these hundreds of thousands of illegals per month, Kevin. Right now, the number's running at about 120,000 a month. They're forecasting 1.5 million illegal entrants this year who will be apprehended, to take them off to the cities like San Francisco or Seattle or Portland or Spokane that have declared themselves sanctuaries. You wanted the illegals, you can have the illegals. And you notice there's been kind of a difference in how they're responding. Some of the cities have said, well, that's fine. We love illegal aliens, literally. We're prepared to take them. And then there are other cities saying, don't send them here. We don't have the resources. Well, all you have to do to figure out the numbers, too, if it's 1.5 million and Oregon is about 1% of the U.S. population, could the state of Oregon take 1% of 1.5 million people a year who will arrive with very few skills, very few resources, no money, no nothing, and they will need a ton of help. Are your citizens willing to part with those resources? Because remember, it's kind of a zero-sum game, Kevin. If they spend money on illegal aliens, thousands of them coming to Boise, then the money won't be there to spend on the people who actually live in Boise and pay taxes in Boise. So do you want to make that kind of deal?
Lars Larson, to be continued tonight at 6, of course, is Northwest Show as well. You're always working, Lars.
Thank you, Kevin. Take care.
Thank you. Our great friend, Lars Larson. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Over the flag, brewing in Southern California. Some residents in Laguna Beach, California, calling the new patriotic paint job on police cars too aggressive. Here to react is...
There we have it. We'll have you react. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So there you have it. Laguna Beach, the police department, they're drawing criticism from people, praise from others that love America, but criticism from others because they have a logo. Now, the logo has Laguna Beach Police, and the police are decorated in the red, white, and blue. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with adding American flag-style lettering for the word police? Well, you've got the devious little libs. They're upset. You've got a local artist by the name of Carrie Woodburn saying, that's too aggressive. That doesn't represent the community. Now, Laguna Beach, those of you from California, about 23,000 residents, 50 miles southeast of California. Other people say they're confused. Folks thought that it was a SWAT team. It was a federal agent. It had such a strong impact, so much there might be some type of unintended consequences. Now, come on. The idea that we live in America today, that you would have an artist, somebody else in the community of Laguna Beach, saying that it's too aggressive to have the word police in a star-spangled logo. City Councilman Peter Blake saying people are actually ridiculous enough to bring up comments about our cop cars having American flags on them. What is wrong with people today? That from the Associated Press at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I don't think we need more patriotism, especially when we're talking about Representative Omar, Nancy Pelosi, and others. Would you ever thought that you would ever see in a world today a representative of Congress? By the way, we did ask, was she here in this country per 9/11? She got here in 92. They moved to Minneapolis in 95. Her grandfather drove cab, worked for the post office, and now she's a congresswoman. Instead of embracing the American dream, Representative Omar saying something happened to some people on September 11th. She should be censured by Congress, but Nancy Pelosi is afraid of these young female lionesses, Turks of liberalism, if you will, so she's not going to do anything about it. But come on, why can't the police have a patriotic logo? That's just crazy. More on that in a minute. KIDO Talk Radio time is 8:26. Traffic and weather together. Kevin Miller in the morning. Let's go to Tea Party Bob, joining us now from the Gem State Patriot on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today? You sound like you're having a great time there.
Always a blessing to be with you.
I tell Mr. Dave that gold actually got up to $1,900 at one point. I think he forgot about that. I wanted to comment on the shooting they are talking about in the news this morning and how I believe we are going to see a revival of the gang atmosphere we had 7 or 8 years ago. It was a year ago that the Sheriff of Canyon County told me that we would see a revival of these gangs as most of their sentences ran for 7 years, and I believe we're seeing the beginnings of that happening, which is just going to be one more problem we're going to have in the Treasure Valley outside of the infrastructure. So I'd be on the lookout for more of this type of violence like the drive-bys we had during the last purge of the gangs. On the border crisis, I doubt that sending the illegals to the sanctuary cities is going to do anything to fix the problem with border crossings. The Democrats have dug in their heels, and they want as many illegals to cross the border as possible, while the federal judges appointed by Obama stand in the president's way of doing anything to fix the problem. If they can get enough illegals to cross into our country, eventually get amnesty or voting rights for them, I do think that we're going to find that most of them are going to want to settle in the southern states, which is the type of climate that they had for their previous homes. This is going to tip the balance in favor of the Democrats, these border states, when it comes to the electoral votes, and Republicans will not be able to win another presidency. And the only thing we can hope for is that Trump wins the next election by a landslide, much like President Reagan during his second term. And at the same time, Republicans recapture the House and keep the Senate. Trump needs another 4 years to reverse the damage that was done by Obama in the appointment of the federal judiciary, which are lifetime appointments. And as it is with Democrats have been winning this battle of immigration because of these appointments. You know, the federal district judges have been a stumbling block in fixing the problem, along with the Dems taking the House back in 2018. They basically control the purse strings, and if you can't get the money to do what you need to do, you're not going to change it. And on the comments by Congressman Omar, I'd just like to say she needs to resign for making an outrageous comment about the World Trade Center attack. This woman did a disservice to everyone she represents and to everyone who was personally affected by the 9/11 attack. If these are the types of people we're electing to represent us in America, we have a very serious problem, and something's got to change quickly. I thank you very much. Great show today, and I do appreciate everything you do for this wonderful Treasure Valley.
Well, we appreciate you as long as you're here, little buddy.
Thank you, my friend. You have I'll be around. Don't try to get rid of me. I'm not going away.
All right. Tea Party Bob, we appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Take care, my friend.
Coming up next, we go live to the White House. Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie.
After a shooting in Boise, police are now looking for suspects.
Boise police tell us the shooting happened at around midnight near the intersection of Palouse and Owyhee streets.
Police say when they arrived on scene, they found 3 adults with gunshot wounds outside one of the homes in that area. Paramedics took the victims to the hospital.
And police say multiple suspects left the scene before they got there.
We're currently investigating what else occurred here. We do know that some type of disturbance preceded the shooting, but we don't know what the content of that was.
Now, police are still working to identify and find the people responsible. They have not said how many they're looking for.
If anyone knows who they are or where they might be, they should call Boise Police or Crime Stoppers at 208-343-COPS.
There we have it from our friends at Channel 7. This just in. Now we have a confirmation that a woman was killed and 2 other people hurt in that triple shooting on the bench. We'll have more on that coming up. Joining us now, live from Washington, D.C., Fox News Radio, exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM in the Treasure Valley. John Decker. John, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you, Kevin. Hope you had a great weekend.
Was it bad? Watched some of the shows. I spent a lovely Sunday afternoon watching C-SPAN and Mayor Pete making it official. I'm sure you had a better Sunday afternoon.
Well, like so many of your listeners, I watched the final round of the Masters, Tiger Woods, and I wasn't the only one. The president, I think, put out 4 tweets on Tiger Woods yesterday, so he even took some time out from his own golf round to watch Tiger in winning this remarkable comeback on his career, and also it was great the way that he broke away from the pack on the final day.
It's like the 1990s all over again.
Well, that's certainly what Tiger would like to see because, of course, that's when he won most of his majors. He's now 3 behind Jack Nicklaus, and, if I'm not mistaken, he's going to be playing another major in where is it? Later this year, the U.S. Open is where this year? Let's say it's in California, right?
Sure. You're the golf guy, John.
Not really, but in any case, I think Tiger Woods can add to his career total in terms of Grand Slams, and it's great to see him back out there competing so well.
Let's talk a little bit about the president having people fired up over the weekend based on the comments Friday afternoon saying send the illegals to the sanctuary cities. That was one of the many talking points on the talk show circuit. You had Sarah Sanders as well as Kellyanne Conway defending the president's comments on all the shows yesterday morning.
Well, that's right. So the president did make those comments initially on a tweet last week, and then he followed them up with some remarks, and he's not backing down. He says that this is something that all of us should be concerned about. You're talking about the tweet relating to Ilhan Omar from Minnesota. In fact, the president's traveling to Minnesota as we speak. He has an event there today talking about tax cuts on tax day. But the president linking to a video, the video, of course, showing the remarks which have gotten so much attention, and those are the remarks in which Representative Ilhan Omar seemed to minimize the 9/11 attacks, and that's the reason why the president drawing attention to that, even tweeting about it once again today and referencing Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, saying that she's not doing enough to condemn the remarks by her own representative in her own party.
Right. Many people are wondering whether or not Representative Omar should receive more discipline for her comments, and then you have the president going on. What else are we looking forward to this week as far as the week ahead?
Well, it's not much is on the president's schedule. Not a busy week like it was last week when the president met with 2 of his counterparts, President Moon on Thursday and also President al-Sisi on Tuesday. So none of those types of visits. That being said, the president is going to be cutting his work week short. He's leaving for Florida on Thursday. I'm going to have a long weekend, Easter weekend, down at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. But the president today, while he's in Minnesota talking tax cuts and trade and the U.S. economy. And the president is hoping in 2020 to flip Minnesota, turning it from blue to red. He came very close in 2016, losing that state by only 1.5 percentage points. So the president thinks that this is a possibility, a real possibility for 2020.
John Decker joining us, KIDO Talk Radio from Fox News Radio, live at the White House. So the president and the campaign already in full season mode?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, the campaign announcing some very impressive fundraising numbers, raising $30 million in the first quarter of the year, which is a pretty impressive number. He also has a significant amount, the president does, a significant amount of cash on hand. He is hoping by the end of this process, by the end of the 2020 election campaign, to raise $1 billion. And that compares with the $720 million that Barack Obama raised in his reelection campaign in 2012.
John Decker, we appreciate you, and you and Tiger enjoyed that Masters win.
I'm sure he'll enjoy it a lot more than I will. And it just occurred to me as we're speaking, Kevin, Pebble Beach, that's where the U.S. Open is this year, and the president has had Tiger Woods has had a lot of success at Pebble Beach, so maybe he'll add to his Grand Slam total when that takes place, I think, in June.
Indeed. John, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our great friend John Decker. To Liberty Linda, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. Well, I wasn't going to call in because I'm not feeling well this morning, but, you brought up Laguna Beach, and I grew up around Laguna Beach as a kid there, and I just wanted to say that area used to be a very exclusive area and very conservative. So I don't know what's happened to it in the years since I was there, but it certainly used to be a very conservative area. You could see Catalina Island from that area, if you've ever been to Catalina Island. Just beautiful. So I just wanted to make that comment, if it's gone liberal, which I wouldn't doubt, but it used to be very conservative in that area. So I just wanted to bring that out today.
Well, and for people just tuning in, we were talking about folks that have a problem with the word police with a Star-Spangled logo on the police cruisers. They think that's too aggressive.
Right. It's unbelievable that you're saying that because, I knew a lot of families in the whole area, very, very conservative. And why anyone would have a problem with that, I don't understand. So, perhaps even that area has changed in California. I just wanted to bring that up, that it used to be very conservative, but it sounds like it's changed now.
Well, Liberty Linda, anything else?
Well, just the president, I don't think he really wants to put him in sanctuary areas. I think it was just to put a fear in the liberals.
Well, I don't know, Liberty Linda. When the president says this,
we could fix that in so fast if the Democrats would agree. But if they don't agree, we might as well do what they always say they want. We'll bring the illegal, really you call them the illegals. I call them the illegals. They came across the border illegally. We'll bring them to sanctuary city areas and let that particular area take care of it.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I don't think Pelosi will go along with it.
Well, Pelosi's not the boss of us.
For some reason, I just don't think that she'd like that. So anyway, very interesting things going on in our country, amazing things. And thank you for bringing them all out, Kevin. It just, even when I'm sick, I have to call in because you have such a great show.
Well, you get well soon, Linda.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. You have a great day.
Thank you. You as well.
We are looking at the possibility, strongly looking at, to be honest with you. California, the governor wants to have a lot of people coming in, refugees coming in, a lot of sanctuary cities. So we'll give them to the sanctuary cities maybe to take care of if that's the way they want it, because we can only hold them under the current law for 20 days.
Right, and you have these border towns in Texas that are being overrun. You have the state of Texas being overrun. Why not? well, Kevin Miller, then who's going to pay for the buses? Well, I don't know. San Francisco seems to have a lot of money. Los Angeles has a lot of money. If you live in Seattle, you're paying a lot in taxes. What's another, $5,000 to truckload the illegals to these places and let them then deal with the people? Look, these people have come here. They've come here illegally. Yes, everybody has a sob story, but there are many people in the Treasure Valley that have it rough. Many people in Idaho haven't gotten a fair shake. Many people in Idaho have been brutalized. Like these 3 people that were shot, 1 woman dead in Boise. And yet here we are focusing in on people that are not Americans. So what are you going to do? If you were listening earlier to KIDO Talk Radio, Lars Larson saying this, look, all this money is going to go to people that are foreign nationals at the expense of Americans, and that is what the president is articulating.
California certainly is always saying, we want more people, and they want more people in their sanctuary cities. Well, we'll give them more people. We can give them a lot. We can give them an unlimited supply. And let's see if they're so happy. They say we have open arms. They're always saying they have open arms. Let's see if they have open arms. The alternative is to change the laws, and we can do it very, very quickly, very easily.
Right. And shame on the Republicans that were in Congress from 2016 to 2018 that didn't do their job. You know what they say, that old saying, you have one job to do. Did you do your job? And the 40 or so members of the House that resigned, retired, whatever, they didn't like the president. They slow-walked everything. Why didn't they change the laws when they could have, Mr. President?
We are giving very strong consideration to having people after a 20-day period because, again, you're not allowed legally to hold them for more than that. We will move them into sanctuary cities.
I think it's a great idea. Nancy Pelosi doesn't. It shows you the hypocrisy of what we're up against. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
We could fix that in so fast if the Democrats would agree. But if they don't agree, we might as well do what they always say they want. We'll bring the illegal, really you call them the illegals. I call them the illegals. They came across the border illegally. We'll bring them to sanctuary city areas and let that particular area take care of it.
There we have it. The president talking about sending the illegals on their way. Let's go to the phones, and we go to Pro-Life joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio, talking about Mayor Pete Buttigieg. Mayor Pete, good morning.
Well, anyway, Lars Larson was saying that he's a Rhodes Scholar. Now, if that's true, every Rhodes Scholar is a one world socialist kind of a person, and they have liberal morals.
Now, for those people that don't know who the mayor of South Bend, Indiana is, Pro-Life, let's take a listen.
The horror show in Washington is mesmerizing. It's all-consuming. But starting today, we're going to change the channel.
He said he's going to change your channel, Pro-Life.
The forces changing our country today are tectonic. I recognize the audacity of doing this as a Midwestern millennial mayor.
By the way, he couldn't get elected statewide in Indiana. They're too conservative. So the Lib goes to a city that isn't doing too well, and the Lib has made the most out of being a Libby, Lib. Your thoughts?
Well, South Bend, Indiana is where Notre Dame University is, and so are a bunch of Notre Dame people voting for that. Notre Dame has become very liberal. They brought President Obama there. They bring...
No, the Libs have taken over Notre Dame.
Yeah, I know they have.
Yeah.
And so...
I don't know. I don't know. Just because he's the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, he's not a Catholic. He was married in a church that married him and his husband. He's a very charismatic young man, a very accomplished young man with a thin political resume.
Well, he's a Rhodes Scholar, and all of those people are... Now, the Clintons were Rhodes Scholars, both of them. And so you know what kind of people they are. They're very tricky.
Now, there are some good Rhodes Scholars, are there not?
I don't think so. I think you can't get there, and they won't give you your Rhodes certificate unless you're a one-world socialist. That's what I think. I've never heard of one that isn't. You ever heard of a Republican that's a Rhodes Scholar? Maybe, but I've never heard of one.
I'm sure there are plenty.
No, I don't think so. you have to be a.
Well, just because you don't think so doesn't mean you're right.
Well, I could be wrong. But, the British Liberals are totally messed up. They say about 60-some% of the British Isles now don't believe in God. They're atheists, and they are just totally messed up over there. They don't know their anything from anywhere. They are crazy people, and we don't need to emulate them.
Well, you know why that's happened is because they had this wave after wave of, as the president calls them, the illegals coming in.
Yep.
So they don't have a culture anymore.
Yep. Well, the mayor, of London, he's a Islamic, and he teeters on coming out just as a terrorist. He's not very good at all. So anyway, we're letting the world mess itself up, and we're not saying anything about it. But I'm not, the Democrats and the media, that shows that they're Rhodes Scholar promoters, and that is bad news. So if you see Rhodes Scholar, you know that it's a person that's real liberal. Anyway, that's all I got to tell you, unless you got a good question for me.
That's all I have, Pro-Life.
All right, God bless you. And your radio program, it's the best one.
God bless you. Let's hope we stick around for a while, brother.
All right, see you.
See you. KIDO Talk Radio time, 8:55, traffic and weather together. And we go to Mark in Eagle with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Kevin. Well, maybe on the surface it sounds like a great idea, but, it's funny, that John, was it Greenwald with Alley Pack, and now we mentioned about Trump caving in with on the illegal issue.
William Geen, yes.
I'm sorry?
William Geen, yeah.
William Geen, thank you. And but I don't know if those people can, by the tens of thousands, can come all the way from Central America on caravans. What's stopping them from leaving the sanctuary cities and spreading out to places such as Idaho and bringing all their diseases and burden to our state or any other state they decide to branch out into? Nothing's going to make them stay necessarily in those sanctuary cities. So obviously, I think it's a stupid idea. Maybe like, what she said earlier when she called in, I can't think of her name offhand now. The one I mentioned about maybe Trump was just saying this. Well, hopefully that's all it is. But there's nothing stopping those people from branching out all over the country.
Right. I think what the president was doing was giving the libs a taste of their own medicine.
Oh, they're not afraid of that. When you get, what's his name, Rahm Emanuel said, we'll take them all with open arms. Wow. I knew that some of them would come out with that little line. So they'll take as many because they know they can force them out and get them spread out in the other. California's good at dumping people. I mean, they've had issues with elderly people and mentally handicapped people. They can't take care of their own hospital systems down there. It's been in the news before, even a left-wing Idaho statesman in the past about them taking them, dumping them in other states like Nevada to let them try to take care of it. So there's nothing stopping them from dumping those illegals into other states. I'll let you go at that, sir.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio. A quick story. A 5-year-old boy is still fighting for his life. You might have heard about this over the weekend. You had some thug come up to this kid, didn't even know him, not that it would matter, and threw him off the balcony. If you've ever been to the Mall of America, it's several floors, but this 5-year-old little boy was doing what 5-year-old little boys were doing, and this thug came up to him, grabbed him, threw him off the balcony, and the kid is fighting for his life. A GoFundMe page has raised over $370,000 to help that little boy live. And folks, there's evil in the world. There is evil in the world today, and that's why we're so grateful to be with you each and every morning, to give you a voice against it, to thank our men and women and their families of law enforcement for being out there. We'll have more concerning the 3 people shot, 1 woman dead on the Boise bench, and this issue involving this little boy. I would ask you to please pray for that 5-year-old little boy who's being treated for critical injuries, thrown 40 feet off a 3rd-floor balcony at the Mall of America. A 24-year-old male is in custody. Who would do such a thing? Like I said, protect your children. I know sometimes it can be trying, but they are such a blessing from the Lord Almighty. Rabbi, great job as always. And everyone, I appreciate you listening. God bless.